Hi. Thank you, everyone, for coming with us today to a podcast episode. And today we have a special guest, Michael Galatte. And Michael is a longtime friend of mine who has an incredible marketing history and background that I want to share with you. And I think you're going to be really inspired by the work he does. And he's available for somebody that would actually like to hire him as a consultant for your company. But before we get into it, he's working at videopoker.com as a consultant. He's been with Action Gaming, basically a Las Vegas marketing uh, professional. And Michael, please share with us anything you'd like at this point. How did you get here?
It's kind of an interesting story in how I got here. It started back in about 2008. I got hired with Northwestern Mutual. And at the time, this is right before the financial crash in 2008, I was having to independently market myself. And I found out that instead of the financial side of things and really enjoying that, which I thought I did, it was actually the marketing and going out there and discovering how to market myself. And with social media just kind of coming out with Facebook becoming popular, Twitter becoming popular, I had to really understand how those worked in order to be able to market myself in different platforms other than the traditional media platforms that you would see knocking on doors, handing out business cards. There was a new form of technology coming out that was enabling me to really expand my reach. And what I found is that I really enjoyed the marketing side of things. So when the market crashed in 2008, I had to pivot. And so what I did is I just kind of learned about marketing and how that could impact a bunch of other people. And and I was actually in telephone book sales, which you believe that was a thing. But the way that digital marketing was happening, businesses were transitioning out of traditional marketing and going into the new forms of marketing, digital marketing. So I found that very fascinating. I dove into it, and it led me to be in the hospitality industry and the casino industry. And in order to really kind of get to where I'm at today, to circle it all together, is that when I was working in brick and mortar casinos, I had to learn the industry. So I spent a lot of time on the casino floor. I spent a lot of time talking to guests. I spent a lot of time talking to the employees. I wanted to know how everything worked from the ground up in order to be able to market to somebody, to be able to touch and reach the correct audience. I had to understand the business. And the way that I did that was, again, being available to the business owner, to the employees, to the guests, to your clients, or whoever that may be. I had to really know their business. I dove into their business, and that really allowed me to be successful with the marketing campaigns and to build out their platforms correctly.
So we're going to touch on a lot of things, but what I heard you say is when you're acting as a consultant in the marketing stream, you go from the ground up and you take the time to learn everything you need, because when you learn, you're able to get the results for the company you're working for.
Yes, it's exactly right, Chad. Because what happens like with a lot of social media marketing companies or marketing individuals that go out there to try to get business, they fall flat on the disconnect between what the business really is. They just take on too many clients, they take on too many projects, and they're not really to spend the time day to day on growing and cultivating the brand that they're working with, right? Because they're spending too much time on too many projects. So for myself, learning from the ground up and understanding what the business owner's needs really truly are by asking the right questions and constantly trying new things. And with the business owner's perspective, it really helps them feel comfortable with what I'm doing, that I can represent their brand.
So give me an example of something that worked, right? Because right now you're in Vegas, you're basically operating with some casinos, but give me an example of something that has actually worked where because of what you've seen, you were able to implement it and then the results were positive.
For a good example is in the brick and mortar casinos, whether it's a promotion, a new game, or they're trying to drive revenue through what they call handle in the casino business. What I would do is I would work with the casino executives and the player development team figure out what they want to promote. Then I would be on the floor for a few days, and it would be when we're implementing, for example, we were implementing a new gaming strategy for player retention. So when you put your player's card in, it gets all this data. What do we do with that data? I was able to take all that data, put it into different forms of social media marketing, whether it's digital marketing, direct mailers, calling on the phone, putting it all together. And then we actually drove and created some new revenue streams and actually got repeat business, people to come back because we knew that they would come 2 or 3 times a year, but I could get them in an extra trip by just seeing what games they like to play, hold a tournament. We would hold a special tournament, a slot tournament or a video poker tournament, get these players to come back an extra trip, stay with us, give them some free dinners, whatever it may be, but it actually got them to come out another visit. So by having all the analytics and knowing exactly what the players were looking for and what specifically they liked, that can be again any business. You can apply that to any business, not just the casino business. If I really know the ins of the customer through the CRM platforms, if you're using Salesforce or Zoho, whatever that your CRM might be, we can really engage with the customer or the client and find out what their needs are. And I think that helps tremendously.
What size companies or what size groups do you want to work with, right? So the company could be a multi-billion-dollar company, but you work within a group. So what are some projects that you like to work on where you know you could add value?
Thank you for asking that. I like to work with small businesses, the startups, entrepreneurs that are too busy running their business that they don't have the time to do this. This is what I specialize in. They need to be focused on growing their business, hiring employees, whatever the case may be. It's the small business owner. That's who I really enjoy working with. Yeah, the big companies are great and I can consult on those, no problem. But I enjoy working with somebody who has taken their idea and wants to grow their business, whether it's because they have a family and they want to leave a legacy for their family, or they just are one of those entrepreneurial spirits that just like wants to just do something for themselves. They're tired of working the 9 to 5, that I can be on board with them from the ground up. Those are the types of businesses that I like to work with.
From your experience of being hired and creating impact at companies, just give me a guesstimate. How long do you think it takes before they could see results and know that your value add is in favor?
It all depends on the business itself, but I like to always do a 30, 60, 90-day plan. The first 30 days really is kind of get to know you and to understand the business and spend that time on the ground. Then within the 60 days, we're implementing things. We're A/B testing. Seeing what's going to start to stick, seeing what's worked in the past, what you want to do in your visions, and kind of putting that all together. And then the 90 days is then just management. So after about 90 days, we'll really get a good feel of where, if these campaigns are successful and what I'm doing is a success, and then we kind of reevaluate and regroup from there.
If you mentor other marketing people, executives, professionals, what's some advice that you like to share with them about getting ahead and being successful in the kind of space that you're in? What are some thoughts that you have around helping other people become successful?
I think, again, spending one-on-one time and asking a bunch of questions, asking them like what their passions are. I think for them to be successful and how I can help them is understanding like where they see themselves in a year or wherever it may be, or how to grow their business. I think it's just really asking a bunch of questions, because I think what happens is a lot of times that people just they just want to get to the end result without really understanding and knowing the person.
So, I've been spending a fair amount of time with you as a colleague and someone that I work with, and I find your energy level to be extremely high. Do you find that you raise the energy and the caliber when you're around others and that your energy is contagious? And does that help with building business and brand?
I think it does. And having high energy because you're passionate about what you do really comes across. When you're not passionate about what you're doing, and if the people that you're around, and it just becomes a day to day out, like, just routine, it gets stale. And especially with marketing and advertising and promotions and all this, you have to have that energy in any business that you're in, because it's all sales. At the end of the day, we're trying to sell something. We're trying to get your face in front of somebody to sell your business. And that's what I love about being in this type of business, is that energy I have to see it in the business owner. I want to see that. If they don't have the energy or they don't have the time, it's not going to be a great relationship, because I do have that energy and I am passionate about this.
Is there one or two things you want to share as kind of like final comments before we wrap up and share with people how to find you?
Yeah, I think what's important for me is, I am approachable. I am available. I am a great listener, and I will be 100% invested in what you're trying to do. I think with what I do and have to bring to the table is you're going to get that commitment. I am a very hard worker. I think I can really take your ideas and run with them. And given the free reign, I can take a lot of things off your plate. And if I have the freedom to do that, and you trust me, that's another thing. Loyalty and trust is what I think I bring to the table for sure.
Beautiful. Let me just share with everyone. My name is Chad Coe. I'm the founder of Coe Financial Group. I love to interview professionals and experts and help them get their word out as to what they do. You could find me at chad@COFinancial.com. And if you go to COFinancial.com, you could download my new book, Your Financial Dream House. Thank you so much. Hold on for me here. I got to put up a disclosure because we're doing this under the Coe Financial Group umbrella. Everyone could take a look at that. And we're going to wrap up here. I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. And thank you, Michael, for joining us on
Thanks,
this
Chad.
podcast.
I
Appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it. Thank you for the time. It was great. Thank you for having me.